Hello everyone and welcome back to the next episode of Suzerain. If I sound a little bit unwell, it's because I am, so I apologise if I sound a bit gravelly today. I thought we would start by having a look at the news because someone mentioned it on a previous video, but also it makes sense to look at the news because we agreed to censor the press. Probably not for the best, but we attempted to do that at a potential cost in future. So I'm just going to have a quick look at some of the headlines. Sordland ratified a new trade agreement with Wales. Indeed we did. Major military overhaul. Workers' Crossroads, Machiavellianism versus Arcasian capitalism. Brunei returns to normal life. And the BFF poisons soldier schools. Yeah, the BFF, the British people, are turning up quite a lot in these newspapers. Second, Quantum satellite in space. Progressive investment in rural development. The government's decision to invest in the Brunei Rural Development Investment Plan is a promising step towards revitalising our rural economies. This initiative will not only secure our nation's food sustainability, but will also uplift agrarian communities. It's an encouraging sign of the government's commitment to a vital sector of the community, of our economy even. But President Rain saves the day. So Sordland today likes us. According to the information we have received, President Rain has decided that he will veto the Religious Harmony Bill. The bill itself has the words harmony in it, however don't be fooled by the name. The proposal, prepared by Kasara Kibana, took a stab at the heart of the British populace by banning British language from being spoken at religious assemblies. If not for President Rain, this bill would come to pass. Every single Blood should be grateful for the exemplary decision by the President. And that shows up quite a bit in some other ones as well. There's a bit about the First Lady here, kind of going all against Mayor Leicester at the Benfey Festival. But there'll also be, here, President Rain protects religious freedom, so this religious bill was a good one to veto. So I'm glad I did. And then some more kind of political stuff about the future, and kind of my diplomatic missions, which definitely didn't really go to plan. But now we have to do a speech to the GNA, the Grand National Assembly, and this one we need to get right, because otherwise this vote's not going to go well. I came to the Grand National Assembly of Sordland to deliver a speech regarding the new constitution and ask for the support of the Assembly before the upcoming vote. I walked quickly through the corridors, giving my greetings to people on my way towards the Parliamentary Hall. When I entered the hall, the Assembly was in complete chaos, with shouting and cursing between the parties. There was a heavy argument of a proposal made from an MP from the NFP, the National Front. I took my seat inside the special area reserved for the ministers. Gloria was shouting from a seat at the centre of the hall, as she hit the gavel 3 times, with each strike heavier than the one before. Order, order. I saw Kasara Kibana standing up from his seat and shouting towards the members of the PFJP. Mr. Kibana, calm yourself. Show respect to the procedures of this assembly. Despite her efforts, the argument continued for a couple of minutes before everyone turned back to their seats and finally went quiet. Mr. Kibana, next time when I tell you to do so, either take your seat or leave the hall so we can proceed with the procedures of this assembly and continue our duties. Some MPs on the MFP side shouted back at her in protest. Honourable ladies and gentlemen, if you allow me to continue, we have the President here with us today. He is asked to give an important announcement. The Assembly fell silent. You have the floor, Mr. President. I walked to the stand as loud clapping started on the USB side. Honourable members of the Assembly. Let's start there. Honourable members of the Grand National Assembly of Sordland, I'm here to raise important questions regarding our outdated constitution. What do we do here? Do we go for the Supreme Court? Do we go for the election threshold? That's not going to go very popularly. The President holds too much authority. Our elected assembly has always been overshadowed. Do we go against the Supreme Court? Let's do it. The Supreme Court holds too much power over our elected branches. They've been obstructing the law, making progress, and has long played the democracy in Sordland. Tarkin Sol gave this power to the court for the sole reason to protect the constitution of the 20s, which led us to fail in adapting to the new world. Therefore, we propose changes to the constitution to prepare Sordland for a more democratic era. I think we'll go for that one. Applauses came from the USP and PFJP seats. I'm not going to say we're going to break the Supreme Court's authority because that sounds bad, but we will rebalance the branches of government to ensure a more democratic process. I focused on unity, change or peace. Unity. It is more important than ever that we stand united as a nation in these changing times. I call everybody to be part of the change our people have been calling for. We all want to make Sordland better, don't we? Let's embrace democracy and unite under the banner of our people, and surely Sordland will be great again. We will. Let's embrace the future. Loud noises came from the USP and NFP seats. I took a breath and continued. I'm not sure that's going to go very well. I also want to think clearly about the current situation and join us for change. I ask everyone, I don't demand, I ask everyone to support us in the... Okay, be part of a new era for Sordland. Join us and vote for our proposal. I'm not going to say USP will change. Let's write the future together. Salute the crowd or finish with a poem. Finish with a poem. I decided to read a poem before I ended my speech. There is a destiny above destiny. This is my country beyond everything, my beloved. There are songs to be sung. There is a spring that blossoms out of the graves of our fallen. Fear not where the dark falls. There is an artist painting the sun. Beyond the next morning, there is a victory waiting to be won. The assembly roared with all kinds of different reactions. The whole United Sordland party stood up and started applauding. Thank you for the speech, Mr. President. I walked back to my seat as many MPs asked to speak. Friends Richter was amongst them. Yes, Mr. Richter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to thank the President for his speech. We, the PFJP, stand in agreement with the need for a more democratic constitution. I would like to thank the ladies and gentlemen of the USP for their more open attitude compared to past years. As long as the President's words prove not to be just words, we'll be behind this much-needed movement for change. We welcome this attempt. I ask the President to share the final contents of these proposals as soon as possible. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sonny Casaro Cabena started yelling from his seat. The President must have lost his mind to cooperate with the likes of you, Mr. Richter. You and your PFJP are nothing but puppets of Western interests. Order! Madam Speaker, I know you're in agreement with me as well. Don't stand idly there while this administration is making deals with snakes and undermining the integrity of Order, Mr. Cabena. How many times do I need to say? You are speaking out of I demand to speak. Gloria gave him a stare. She looked annoyed. Very well, Mr. Cabena. Go ahead. Mr. President, the nationalist movement does not agree with your priorities nor the way you are trying to implement them. The NFP will not stand with you on the new constitution. Let it be known that the NFP's concerns are not included in this so-called democratic reforms, thus Mr. President has no right to claim them as such. We will stand our ground against any attempt to bring down our established political culture and national values. Thank you. Casaro went back to his seat, but the chaos in the assembly continued. We will ask to speak. Yes, Mr. President. I just wanted to thank everyone for their comments. Let's not go into fighting everyone just yet. MPs kept shouting and was responding to each other, creating a loud mess where nothing was legible. Order, order. This topic is finished. We're moving on to our next topic. I slowly left the hall, and the shouting could be heard from every corridor of the Grand National Assembly. Not sure if that was a good speech or not. We'll have to see. Let's read the report. Lucy and Grenade reported that so far they've been able to get in total 142 signatures behind the proposal. Efforts are underway to increase the support and to reach out to the necessary members to reach 150. Only 8 more to go is not bad, actually. In Grunai's stagnation has marked Grunai's regional growth. Grunai, known for its fertile lands and well-renowned vineyards, is currently experiencing stagnation in regional growth. This economic flatlining has raised concerns over Grunai's economic resilience and the need for innovative strategies to revitalise its growth. The city and regional authorities are closely monitoring the situation to take necessary action. Let's continue. Wealth of nations. What's going to be happening now, I wonder? Let's have a quick look at the news. Let's have a look at the economists. Health requires more resources, and boosting the economy, Central Bank Reinforcement Act. The Central Bank Reinforcement Act is poised to bolster the strength and stability of our national currency and the overall economy, with provisions for accumulating foreign exchange reserves, adopting a prudent fiscal policy and supporting high export potential industries, The Act presents a well-rounded approach to economic resilience. By fostering a stable economic environment, the Act could spur foreign investment and improve our credit rating. As the GNA moves forward with this Act, the eyes of investors, both foreign and domestic, will undoubtedly be on Sordland. Rizia and Rumberg sign economic cooperation deal, and Rumberg gains naval base rights. I don't like that at all. And the hidden power of men in uniform. No political leader in Sordland can survive in office without some support from the general staff. President Arthur Whiskey was a leader who learned this lesson the hard way. In 1927, a military coup brought to an end his short time as president, and later Alfonso became a target of alleged conspiracies by the Old Guard, who were known to be very close to the general staff of the Swedish Armed Forces. Though nowadays fewer officers assume the role of political leaders, military influence continues to have major repercussions in politics across eastern Mekopa. According to a report by the Alliance of Nations, Sordland has become one of the most influential militaries in the region, coming just behind Wales, where the actions of generals indicate serious military interference in politics. As the reports show, men in uniform still enjoy considerable influence on politics of Sordland, and nothing has been done to reverse the situation despite the country's history of coups and civil wars. Definitely we're going to have to bear that in mind going forward. Okay. So, requested meeting of Joseph Lancia. We'll have to read that in a second, but first, the General Staff has gathered at the Ministry of Defence today to assess the security conditions of Sordland. More than 20 high-ranking officers were in attendance and discussed several war plans, the internal stability of the nation and the overall state of the armed forces. And privatisation plan proposal. The Ministry of Health has finished a privatisation proposal plan in order to increase the resources of the health system and increase the quality of services through small-scale market competition. Additionally, the Ministry reports highlighted the weaknesses Sordland has highlighted the weaknesses Sordland has when it comes to a potential epidemic. Minister Bendelwell reported that much more could be achieved for the healthcare system if the private sector could slightly assist by generating new revenue streams and assisting new services. My concern with that is that we promised Glory Tory we weren't going to do any privatisation, so we'll have to see. But first, let's meet with Joseph, see what he has to say. I arrived at the cubic building that housed most of the military command that resided in Holsord. The grey and brutalistic structure looked daunting. I never liked this building. It always made me feel like I was standing under the concrete foot of a giant getting ready to crush me. It made me feel small. I never got quite used to the feeling even after this many years. At the entrance, I was greeted by Joseph and his military entourage of young officers. Welcome to the Ministry of Defence, Mr. President. Let's go to my office. We walked from corridor to corridor to reach the offices. On the way, we were met with high-ranking soldiers as well as privates. Every single one of these soldiers saw me, stopped, and saluted. When we finally arrived at Joseph's office, his entourage saluted us and left. He closed the door and took a seat. Let's begin. What is the matter? He leaned back and interlocked his hands. The situation with Rumberg is getting worse, and if it wasn't for the investments in our military, I'd be even more concerned. We are prepared for the worst, aren't we, Joseph? Truthfully, not fully prepared. We are still going through a few changes in the military to confront them if such day was to arrive. Our efforts to restructure the military should prove beneficial in a potential conflict. We will never be able to match the forces of Rumberg on equal terms, therefore our switch of the military to a smaller, well-equipped and autonomously led combat units will prove better in the battlefield. I'd rather prevent a war altogether. Me too, but we might not have a choice. As a result of the recent deal with Wales, we have started reinforcing the border. Forward scouts have been deployed and we've started moving our divisions. Rest assured, we're ready for anything that will come from the other side of the border. We're providing our reports to you. Ooh, I'm not sure if we tend to be lenient, he's going to like that. I don't think we will have any problems, but stay alert. I don't want anyone in. Try to be lenient if possible. We will try, Mr. President. Joseph cleared his throat. Let's move on to our main topic. The mandatory conscription law has become a matter of discussion. We need to strike a decision whether to keep or remove it. The facts are that the conscription gives us a large reservist pool that can cover a large front line, but these troops lack the morale and quality to be offensive elements. It is the last step remaining to switch to a modern, professional armed force. Our restructuring is hindered by hundreds of thousands of cadets extending our logistics, slowing command structure, and reducing the combat efficiency of our experienced units. Let's wait for Vulcan before we make a decision. I want to hear his viewpoint. Mr. President, I don't think that will be necessary. He won't be coming. A strong knock on the door was heard, and the chief of the armed forces, Vulcan Kruger, walked in. What is the meaning of this, Joseph? Why haven't I been invited? What is going on here? You're overstepping and interrupting a personal meeting between me and the President. Falcon deliberated the situation. I see what is going on here. I mean no disrespect, but I'm leading the ground operations. I must be informed of any strategic changes. Well, now that you are here, what is your opinion on conscription? The matter is rather simple from my point of view. Our forces have gone large structural changes, changing the operational capabilities and structures of tactics. However, at the end of the day, Runback has a larger army, air force and navy. Our conscripts will feel the much needed weaknesses we have. Throwing bodies at a problem never solved it. Not sure if this is the right approach. Well, we can't have less troops on the front line than the enemy, not with our current structure focused on mass mobilisation. I would ask you to consider. I think we're going to remove conscription. It will make people happy, and it means that we keep a professional force going. Okay, so Joseph agrees. We also have to decide how exactly we spend our additional remaining funds in the military. In June, we decided to upgrade the equipment of our military. The military thanks the administration for the extensive support, it's creating a modern fighting force. We need to decide what branch we would want to modernise more. Which branch does require most modernisation? Strategically speaking, the army would be the safest choice, however the air and naval forces would do well with further modernisation too. Modernise the army. We just got rid of all conscripts, we need to modernise the army. As you wish, the changes will be implemented this month and finished at the end of November. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your time. I left the Ministry of Defence and returned to the Maroon Palace. Okay, so we've got a bit of government budget, which is good. I'm guessing that's because of the armed forces. So, we've got a lack of reservists now. The military is facing a significant shortage of reservists, which can limit its ability to rapidly increase its size during times of war or crisis. The lack of reservists also places a greater strain on the regular military personnel, potentially to overburden and overstretch forces. However, we are now modernised. After a significant modernisation effort, the Swordfish Army has undergone major reforms and upgrades, enhancing its overall capabilities and making it a more formidable force to be reckoned with. The army has received new and advanced equipment, including state-of-the-art weapons, communication systems, and vehicles, which have significantly improved its combat readiness and effectiveness. The army troops have also undergone rigorous training and have gained extensive experience through their participation in various international military exercises and operations. And they're still happy. It's the one where we actually have more greens than reds, so I'm going to take it. Let's again have a quick look at the news. Fight against the BFF continues in Bergia. Boys to men, not without conscription. Sound the death knell for one of Sordland's proudest traditions. President Anton Rain has just removed the country's mandatory conscription requirement. We can therefore prepare not only for a smaller army and increase defence capabilities, but also for future generations of young men who have no idea how to hold a gun or follow marching orders. This new pace of male staffers remember their time in the army as one of their most cherished formative experiences. It remains to be seen how Swordish boys will develop a sense of national identity and self-determination without it. That is a fair point that I'm not sure I thought of. More stuff to do with Bergia and the Blue Dish. Special Zone declares war on the Blue Dish people. Women march for equal education in Enrica, and Swordish boys no longer forced to fight freedom. So the radicals actually like us, however the Holsthorpe Post does not. But let's see the differences here. One of Sordland's most backward traditions has finally been reversed, as now young men are freed from their requirement to join the Swordish army upon coming of age. High school boys are rejoicing in their newfound ability to enter university or the career of their choice upon graduating. While military analysts point out the President's Rain reversal of mandatory conscription will lead to a smaller but more professional army. We're just happy that many young students who don't align with the government's aims will no longer be forced in to fight for them. So varying degrees of people who like it and don't. But now the economy, which is going to be the worst one. The team gathered in Hull saw the Ministry of Economy to go over the current economic situation. The building was constructed in 1892 by Heron Walt, possibly the most famous architect in Sordland. It was a simple and elegant structure, with a few of his signature domes spread out over the roof. I walked through the large bronze doors, and two assistants led me upstairs to a meeting room. Everyone stood up as I entered the room, buttoning their suit jackets. "Welcome, Mr. President. Please take your seats." Everyone took their seats. As you know, today we'll go over our economic status. Let's begin without any further ado. How are we doing in terms of our infrastructure? The first months had positive indicators, but the delay of the infrastructure project reversed economic gains. Mikhail frowned and put his fingers on his chin. Why couldn't we solve the L1 high-speed rail construction issues? The National Business Council isn't happy with the lack of tangible economic improvements at all. I also expected a better performance from all of us. Surely there's still a way to finish what we've begun. From my perspective, we need a bigger cash injection into the economy. Let's see on the stats on our deal with Whalen. Our trade deal with Whalen has increased our imports and exports by 60% in 1 month, which is a considerably good number. Perfect. Regardless, the numbers are clear. I must say I still can't get behind a trade deal with Whalen, especially when it's involved in a military cooperation. I feel like we made a contract with the devil. What's done is done, we just have to move forward. Albeit risky, it is lucrative. Increased trade has improved our economy. I see this as a reason for celebration. On a side note, consumer spending has decreased further due to pessimistic mood caused by economic issues. That is discouraging. We've done the best we can so far. We should maintain our optimism. While I agree that our first attempts were not successful, we might still have economic opportunities left. It isn't good for our reputation. The people expected quick solutions, and we are running out of time. The central bank has begun working on a bill with the GNA to increase our preparedness for future damaging economic incidents. The issues surrounding the energy prices and imbalance they cause in the market are also a pressing concern. Average citizens and businesses are suffering. After the Central Bank Reinforcement Act, our focus will shift to primarily tackle the energy inflation crisis in the country. We'll present a bit about this in the near future if the situation regresses. The NBC will also lend support to the analysis and contingency plans regarding the ongoing developments. I'm looking forward to further collaboration between our departments to solve upcoming issues. Simchet's large dossier. Our treasury is in a dangerous amount of debt. 6. If we don't reduce our debt in the future, we might fall into a debt crisis or worse. What are your suggestions on tackling this? I'll work on some proposals regarding taxes to generate further revenues. As per the latest data from the Ministry, the recession unfortunately seems to be lingering still in some economic areas. No matter the cost, we will have to increase our economic development rates, otherwise I'm sad to say that we will be doomed. We need to use the opportunities we've been given. Trade deals and infrastructure improvements always help. Mr. President, I'll be very clear. Simon took off his glasses and put them on the table. He looked at me very straight in the eye. You already know this, and I don't want to frighten you. But if we are unable to stop this recession, we are heading towards an economic catastrophe that's never been seen before in Sordland. No, in all of Eastern Mekopa. I can't even begin to see how we would survive that. None of us want to see the solstice people starve, while the state is unable to provide for its citizens. Then we need to get to work, absolutely. Now, there are a few methods we can use to tackle the recession. Our debt situation is awfully bad, and I heavily advise against further expenditures. However, I still present new projects and leave the decision to you, Mr. President. There are two main distinctions between these projects. It's either about continuing our infrastructure improvements or investing in increasing production. If we continue working on our infrastructure, that will lift us up to advanced country levels. However, our industrial production also needs a boost to return to pre-recession levels. There is of course the option to not take any risks related to our budget. The plans for these projects will be finalised soon. For now I can provide preliminary information. Which one would you like to hear about first? We cannot afford it, it's the simple truth. That covers our subjects for today. Does anyone want to add anything? Nobody answered. That concludes the meeting. Have a good day, all of you. Yeah, our economy is in a bit of bad state. Energy crisis is looming. Energy inflation. More to do with Whalen and the Blue Dish. Sordland State Corporation delays railway construction. Come on. I know we should have picked Underhaul, but I felt like there was going to be an issue. It does seem like it was a bit of a disaster to pick the state contractors. Energy prices on the rise. Our growth has been going up and down a lot at the moment, to be honest. Yeah, Rain closes the door to refugees from Whalen. That's the repercussions from agreeing to the demands of Victor Smolak, but we needed to make a trade deal somewhere. Sordland's diplomacy disappoints. Yeah. There was a problem in Starport. I'm still annoyed that I couldn't fix that issue, but I didn't have a choice. Okay, let's start with reading the report. The Grand National Assembly in whole sort has drafted the Energy Inflation Reduction Act in response to the recent surge in energy prices. The bill proposes a temporary price cap on gas prices, bilateral agreements with energy-rich countries, and expansion of domestic energy production. This comprehensive approach is geared to mitigate the inflationary pressures on our energy prices and stimulate domestic economic growth. Okay, let's have a look. The sudden surge in energy prices and market instability have sparked concerns among investors and analysts about the resilience of Sordland's economy. Sordland now stands at the precipice of a severe energy inflation crisis. This heightened uncertainty has led to speculative investment, a potential decrease in foreign direct investment, and the risk of a consequential economic slump. These developments could have a domino effect on the Swedish economy, impacting its financial markets and overall social economic stability. We just had to lose a bit of government budget there. We're not in a bad way, but we just need to get our government budget sorted. We'll have a look at this, but again, we don't have the budget to do so. It's 2 government budget. That'll put us down to 9. That's just not feasible. Not feasible in the slightest, sadly. Meeting the escalation tensions in Bergia. Nia Morgana and Lilius Graf scheduled a meeting to discuss an ongoing legal case that required my attention, and in the morning we convened in my office. Thank you for being here at this hour, Mr. President. We need to inform you about some news from Bergia. There's a court case initiated by a British citizen which involves a possible revision of the Constitution. Unfortunately, it has the potential to affect the whole country. I'm listening. I'll start from the beginning. As you know, after the discovery of KA-74s in separatist hideouts, there have been more than a few attacks initiated and claimed by the BFF. Due to the decreased security funds, many of these otherwise avoidable attacks can be stopped. This has created some hysteria inside Bergia. The main problem is with the security structure of Bergia. Due to the special status of the region, operations on the ground are run by local security forces that are not bound to the interior, which means my hands are tied. Unfortunately, the court backlog is piling up with increasingly frequent rulings that are unjust. This has led to many of our citizens losing their trust in the justice system. This is particularly a problem for the residents of Bergia. It's definitely not helping with the increasing tensions between the Bluish populace and swords. Increasing even further after Operation Bear Trap, we've been receiving more and more intelligence about some kind of preparation by the terrorists. We can't allow the conflict in Wayland to spread to Sordland, as we know the Wayland and Sordland divisions of the BFF are in close cooperation. You have my ear. The increasing threat of the BFF led Governor Bond to justifiably resort to his emergency powers to curb the danger. His discovery of militant training grounds disguised as schools was commendable, as well as his quick handling of the bomb threats coming from major cities like Derio. However, his latest policies have been questionable, especially the peaceful resettlement order. It's been met with massive anger from the majority of Bloods in the region. That is a massive understatement. Governor Bron has abused his powers and clearly acted against the Constitution. Quite surprisingly, Ishval Urson has managed to successfully push his case to the higher courts. He is suing Felix Bron, for infringing upon the liberties of the British people. He also raises a conflict in the Constitution and argues that the way it is written makes it open to interpretation and allows people like Governor Bron to abuse their powers. There were accusations against the governor. Mr. Bron has sadly evicted thousands of Bloods from their homes in Derry recently. The fact that this has happened in a city with relatively low levels of BFF activity is a sloppy decision at best. A sloppy decision? This is a direct violation of their right to property. The BFF activity levels have nothing to do with this. But it does, Miss Morgana. The state can take any measures to fight with terror within its borders. The decision would have been justified if those neighbourhoods were in fact labelled as a threat level red. But they were not. Hence, he did not have the authority to evict these citizens. In this case in Derio, the governor has definitely violated his authority. You are underplaying it. This eviction was not only the last of the many he has ordered, as part of Bergia's peaceful resettlement policies. This is not about Derio. There are hundreds of accusations listed in this case, ranging from violent actions by law enforcement to open discrimination in local municipalities. Calm down, Nia dear. I'm not disagreeing with you. And what does Erson claim about the conflict in the Constitution? As you know, the Rights and Liberties Act, Article 7, alludes are described in Article 100 in further detail. All citizens are, in theory, can exercise their rights described in these articles and are equally subject to law as described. These rights cannot be suspended by the government under any circumstances other than defensive war. Mr. Erson claims that the line, every sword is equal before the law, in Article 7 does not include other ethnicities, and therefore gives the state the right to suspend or limit the rights of non-swords defined in Article 100. Courts have repeatedly protected Governor Bron in the past, and it's true that he blames Mr. Hawker justifying his actions through Article 7. However, there's also Article 6, which the courts could have taken into account already. What is the problem with Article 6? As you know, Article 6, I don't know, but thankfully you will tell me. Everyone who's bound to the Swordish state by citizenship is a sword, which clarifies clearly that the Constitution does not discriminate against other ethnicities or cultures. Citizens of this country are called swords. But did you ask British people what they think? Yes, it's true that this article has protected them on a number of occasions, as it defines sword as a non-ethnic term, but it is left up to the interpretation of the courts. They could have argued that Article 6 extends the rights defined in Article 7 to citizens of Sordland, regardless of the rates, but they didn't yet. They can potentially push this case up to the Supreme Court. Who is Huithril? Huithril is a lawyer and Bluish rights activist. He lives in Derry and has experienced the systematic racism in region firsthand. He was evicted last month from his home on the grounds of threatening public safety and stability. He was also shot at by local law enforcement forces several times in the last 2 years, and has managed to survive it so far. The attackers, of course, were never punished. As much as the eviction seems unjust, Mr. Erson must be further investigated for his potential ties to dangerous organisations. I like to believe the forces wouldn't have fired at him without proper reason. Okay, we need to look after the Bloods, because this is a bit much. Huithril is claiming the current constitution gives the legal grounds to discriminate against British people, directly infringing upon their rights as citizens. He claims Article 7 of the Constitution, citing the line, every sword is equal before the law, is in direct conflict with the freedoms and rights defined in Article 100. Governor Felix Bron is accused of using Article 7 to justify his oppression of the British community. In any case, the situation might be troubling if it reaches the Supreme Court and Mr. Hawker managed to sabotage it by altering the current interpretation. It would be disastrous for British rights. I'll be doing my best to ensure a positive result comes out of this case, but I'm not sure if the centrists will be willing to agree with Mr. Erson. Why would Mr. Hawker even sabotage it? The current interpretation is strictly solist. I'm sure he will follow the Constitution and charge Governor Bron for unconstitutional behaviour. According to the foundational values of this republic, everyone who is a citizen of this country is a sword. The Constitution is clear about this and does not allow for discrimination. Maybe Hawker is not the man you think he is, Miss Graff. For what I've heard, his stance on the subject may not be the standard solist interpretation, but something darker. I'm afraid he'll reject the case altogether and find Governor Bron innocent. If this happens, it would make discrimination against British people legal. Isn't there anything I can do? I'm afraid not, Mr. President. The executive has no jurisdiction over the judiciary. In this case, I'm afraid even Justice Edmonds and the centrists would be impossible to convince. To be honest, I don't think this is a matter for our administration. We must keep out of judicial affairs. As much as I hate to say it, I somewhat agree with Lilius on this. I prefer to keep the status quo over risking a complete abolishment of rights. We still have the power to make tangible reforms. What if we convince the justices? I don't think it will happen, but we can try. If the Supreme Court agrees that the Constitution is in conflict with itself, yes, but I don't know if you're serious or not, Mr. President. I don't think this would happen. It's time we push for a change within the security structure of Bergia and the special status that reflected in de facto autonomy. It clearly isn't working. The resettlement policies in Bergia and the Erson case have changed the mood of the lawmakers. We can use this opportunity to push the removal of Tarkin's sole security zone degree. It's a much bigger possibility than before. Of course, racism is rampant throughout our country, but British citizens inside Bergia are having a much worse time than the British residents of cities like Lochhaven or Holsword. If we focus on Bergia, we can move its special status. This alone would be a huge step for British rights. Unfortunately, as long as Governor Bron is in charge of Bergia with the powers he has, no judicial reforms would reverse the situation on the ground. To put it simply, we want to work on a detailed proposal to restructure Bergier. I believe it must become a region of Sordland like any other. We must centralise the system and abolish the local security forces. Are you sure that we can even revoke the special status of Bergier? We can't be sure of anything, Mr. President. You know this better than me. But Elias and I both believe there is potential to get MPs behind the idea. It is true. Some members of my circle inside the party are keen on this idea as well. They're starting to believe Sol's policy in Bergier has already run its course. If we play our cards right during the process of this case, while we work on the preparation of a strong proposal for the special zone, we can gather enough support behind it. We have to try. Okay, let's hear about the proposal. Ian and I both agree that we need to abolish the special zone. This is the first point that the proposal will address. This would also mean taking away the special authority of the governor. I agree with removing the governor as well as his insane authority, but I don't support complete centralisation of this region. I propose that we restructure the special zone, democratise it, and acknowledge the Bludish movement. How does that resolve anything? How do you resolve any problem by dividing the region from the rest of Sordland? We've tried that already. I'm actually going to agree with Lilius on this one. First of all, because I want her to like me a bit more, because I've had to disappoint her a lot, but also I do think that replacing a special zone with another one doesn't help anyone. My proposal is very simple. The special zone must be fully revoked, governor's powers taken away, and the local security forces must be abolished. Only then can Bergier be an equal part of Sordland. I propose we unite Bergier with the rest of Sordland and enforce the same laws and policies as any other Sordish region, dismantling the current semi-independent security structure in the process. We will hold local municipal elections, just like every city in Sordland, and the security of the region will be under the full control of the Ministry of the Interior. We can no longer allow their forces to pursue violence with impunity. If this is a problem, then the central government could fix. Your mighty colonel would have solved it already. The assimilation policies clearly don't work. What does that have to do with anything? I'm just saying that the solution is not a rushed unification. We must acknowledge that Bergier is a unique region with its own culture and history. We cannot regard the social reality. Nia does have a point. Great, I'll start working on the proposal immediately. But I still think we're going to go for centralisation. Miss Graff, you take the lead. Nia, I'm aware it might be a mistake, but it's the decision I've made. I will start working on the proposal immediately. It's important to get this right, so it might take some time. My estimate is that they'll be ready sometime after the vote on your constitutional amendments, and you can choose to enact it then. Thank you. Great, I'll get to work. See you later, Mr. President. They bid their farewells and left the room. Well then, that's a lot that we're struggling a bit, aren't we, with our economy? We'll leave things off there. We definitely need to fix our economy. We're teetering on the brink of a complete financial collapse and the economic crisis. We do have the Central Bank Reinforcement Act, which we'll pass next time. Actually, no, we'll do that now, actually. The Central Bank Reinforcement Act, led by Edith Acknock and the GNA, intends to bolster the strength and stability of Sordland's national currency and bolster the overall economy. The Grand National Assembly advocates the following measures. Section 1 mandates the accumulation of foreign exchange reserves. By buying foreign currencies, especially those of Sordland's main trading partners, the central bank can exert more control over the value of our currency. Section 2 outlines the adoption of a prudent fiscal policy. By reducing the national debt and limiting budget deficits, the country can present itself as a more stable economic entity, attracting foreign investment and improving our credit rating, which in turn would enable us to borrow at lower interest rates if necessary. Section 3 proposes increased legal and informational support for our industries with high export potential, such as our emerging electronic sector in Gelsord, wine production in Borin, and pharmaceutical manufacturing in Lackhaven. By increasing exports, the demand for our currency will rise, thus strengthening its value. I will sign it, even though it's another minus the government budget, because I'm hoping it will help in the long run. Policies updated. We'll hope that helps. Budget allocation of healthcare and some reports. We will do that next time. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. More to come soon indeed. Take care. Bye-bye.